everyone. I have 6 o'clock, so that means it's time to get rocking and rolling for both me and my co-presenter with me today. Welcome to part 3 of Beyond the Golden Arches, right? A little sneak peek or educational series, if you will, on McDonald's and behind the Golden Arches and what really happens behind the Golden Arches. A little bit of our positions, the history, the food, the structure, all the fun stuff. And we're kind of wrapping it up in a bow today with part 3. So we're really excited if you've been with us for part 1 and for part 2, because we've had some really good interactions, some great questions, some fun at the end with some games. But I know Chris and I, my co-presenter, which I'll introduce in a minute, we were discussing before we got going, really last week was the best, having our guest speaker on and talking a little bit about her experience. But this week, we're going to transition a little bit and talk a little bit more about our roles in McDonald's and a little bit about the food, because we get a lot of questions about the food. So on the next slide, I kind of have who I am and who my co-presenter is. And my name is Ryan Richardson, for those of you that might be new this week. I'm a franchise business partner in McDonald's. And if you hold on just a few more moments, I'm going to explain a lot more about what my role is. What does that mean, a franchise business partner? All right, so I'll explain all of that. But with me today, I have my colleague in crime, if you will, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you, Ryan. Always appreciate it. I'll always appreciate it. So, thank you again. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Smitherman. For those of you who haven't been with us, for those of you who have been here, thank you again for coming again for the third and final part. As Ryan said, I am an operations associate with McDonald's Corporation, which I know that Ryan and myself have been kind of teasing and hinting about what we do a little bit for the last couple of weeks. So if you've been with us this long, hey, we're finally going to tell you. But I can't even really talk about it a little bit, just like Ryan, because we're going to got to keep you on the hook, and we're going to talk about it in the next couple of slides. So thank you, and back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Chris. So I know I gave you a sneak peek at what we're actually covering, but on the next slide, here's kind of our agenda for this evening. And grab your coffee, grab your whatever drink that you need to get by. I got my coffee here. I know I'm ready to go because it's after work, and we gotta keep this energy, to keep this pace going. But what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to really talk about the history of McDonald's. We're going to talk about the three-legged stool, which I know we've talked about in the other 2 parts if you've been with us. But the main meat and potatoes of today's presentation, if you will, is the next 2 bullet points there. The franchisor, that's McDonald's Corporation. Some of the roles and responsibilities that we have as a franchisor, and then as well as our suppliers. And I know we talked very briefly about it in part 2 last week. But then we're going to wrap it up at the end, kind of with some benefits of working at McDonald's, which I'm really excited about. I know we had some people with us last week that were like, I don't know if I would want to work for McDonald's. Well, I think if they saw and heard the benefits that we have as a company, I think we changed some minds. So we'll see how that plays out. And then at the end, we're going to conclude by having a little bit of fun like we did last week and the previous week, a little game. But I do want to start off with asking the same question that we've asked at the beginning of all of these. And that's, when you see the arches, when you hear of McDonald's, what do you think of? What comes to mind? So I've got to ask all of you that. And I'll wait a few seconds and I'll let you know what I think. So I'll give a few seconds and let you know what I think. But I want to hear from you. What do you guys think?
Drop it in the chat. Let us know what y'all are thinking.
Okay, I see a couple things. Food from Facebook and charity. Well, I think of food. Yeah, definitely think of food. I mean, how do you not think of McDonald's and think of food? I mean, they go hand in hand, right?
I don't know how. I mean, every time I hear McDonald's, I want to get some nuggets or, our new chicken sandwich. I mean, it's just that good.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Charity, I'm glad somebody brought that up. We spent some time in part one really talking about Ronald McDonald House Charities here locally and how they're involved in the community and the impact that they have. So I'm glad that somebody brought the charity up because that's a really big piece of McDonald's and how we like to say intertwined or connected to the community. So I love hearing that. Massive organization. Whew. Yeah, Tommy, you're right. We are a massive organization. I mean, when you think about McDonald's and you think about recognizable brands in the world, right? What are some big brands that you think of? I mean, I think of Nike, I think of Apple, I think of Walmart, Amazon, McDonald's, you name it, Samsung. I think of some of these large brands. I mean, you know their logos without even the words next to them, right? You just know the Apple with the bite of it missing. That's Apple, right? I mean, I guess that goes without saying, but you know what I'm getting at, that we know what those logos are for those companies without actually knowing them. So yeah, it's those top brands in the world, easily recognizable. Yeah, massive organization. And then a business enterprise. Ooh, I mean, I don't know who said business enterprise, but I'm kind of curious. I mean, if you could explain a little bit more, if you type that in on Facebook, please explain a little bit more of what you think of business enterprise. I'm kind of curious as to what you really meant by that. If you mean that, hey, we're building financially, sales, I don't know what you mean. But while I'm waiting for that response, I'll tell you what I think of. So I think of my first experience that I can ever remember at McDonald's. So this is going back probably, I don't know, 30 years now. My first experience that I can really remember out of McDonald's is we were on a family road trip. We stopped by, we stayed in a hotel. So it was one of my first memories of ever staying in a hotel. And in the morning, my dad said, we got to go to McDonald's and get some coffee because we were on this road trip. He needed some coffee to be able to drive this long road trip. And it was my first time ever having a hash brown. And I remember thinking, this is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. Like, it was just fantastic. I couldn't get enough of it. And I remember my mom had a hash brown too with her egg McMuffin or whatever she got. And I was like, Mom, I need another one of those. And so she let me have half of her hash brown. That's like one of my first memories at McDonald's. So usually when I think of McDonald's, obviously it's the brand that I work for. I think a lot of things, but that first memory always comes to mind for me. So that's one of the things that I think about. Okay, I got a response in here. It says multiple franchisees, corporation, and being able to build up your business. You're right. So I'm going to kind of take a little bit of what Tommy said and what else was entered into the chat here. Yeah, we are a massive organization. Yes, we are a business enterprise with multiple franchisees and corporations, but it's when customers see McDonald's, they see the arches. They don't see all the franchisees that I know. We got to meet Perla last week. If you were here with us, she was gracious to be here, an owner operator in the Buffalo area. We don't see those owner operators in the background that own all these businesses, that put in their blood, sweat, and tears into these businesses. Consumers just see the arches. So they just, they all have all these perceptions. And I know we heard, I think it was Xavier last week, talk about some different perceptions that he had of McDonald's. But we need to change that, right? Because there's people like Perla and many others that, like I said, have put their blood, sweat, and tears into this business. I know I feel like I've put a lot of time in, which is 16 years as of this year into McDonald's. But yeah, you can do what you want to do in this business and really be able to build yourself up. So thank you for explaining that and fleshing that out a little bit more for me, whoever that was. Greatly appreciated. On the next slide, I have a couple other questions that I want to start off with this today. One, that these are kind of carryovers from the past two, is have you ever worked at McDonald's? And would you ever work at McDonald's? And if no, say why not. Please type it into the chat box. Tell us what exactly it is that the reasoning of why you would never work at McDonald's. But hopefully Chris and I can change your mind here tonight. So I'm just gonna give you about 30, 45 seconds. If you could respond to the two polling questions and then go ahead and type in the chat box reasoning.
And if you're on Facebook, just, feel free to throw in the chat as well if you've ever worked at McDonald's, and would you ever just add it all in the chat. We want to hear from you all too. And thank you for whoever says we have the best fries. You are right. Thank you for that. We appreciate you.
I think, Chris, you're right. We do have the best fries when they're made correctly, right? When they're done just golden perfection. I think they're fantastic. I don't think anybody can beat our French fries.
Yeah, yes, you are right about that. That right heat, that right crisp, the salt, just you can't beat it. It's addicting for me, Ryan. I don't know about you. Even still, before, now, and I think whatever happens in the future, I'm gonna be addicted to these no matter what for the rest of my life.
Well, that's it. I've been working for McDonald's for 16 years, and I probably had them almost every day in 16 years. So yeah,
Wow.
they're pretty addicting.
Yeah, that is actually crazy to think about. So yeah, that right there. Listen to Ryan, everyone. That's a testimony.
All right. So I don't know where we stand with our polling results, but we'll give it a few more seconds. If you're on Facebook, feel free to jump into the chat. Let us know if you've ever worked at McDonald's, or would you ever work at McDonald's? If you have worked at McDonald's, tell us about your experience. Don't be profane, but you can tell us good, bad, or in between what it was like. We hope that you would be honest with us. So please let us know.
So Ryan, for our poll that we launched on Zoom, we have 60% saying that they have worked at McDonald's, 40% saying that they have not, 100% saying yes, would you work at McDonald's? We have 100% of people saying yes, that they would. And then we don't have any if no's, because everyone answered yes. And I'm waiting on Facebook for a minute, so I'll share those in a second.
Fantastic. Chris, what do you think about those results?
I love it. Listen, I love it. I'm happy with that 100%. Ryan, I think we're doing our job, Ryan. I think we're really changing the temp of the room. So I'm happy. I can't wait to hear Facebook. I'm gonna be real happy if we get the same results, because I know we're doing something right. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm really happy. And like I said, I just hope everybody's being honest, right? We're not here to be homers. Yeah, we want to educate you and inform you about McDonald's, but it's not about us really, making people feel a certain way. We want you to be honest. So please do. Lots of yes on Facebook that they would work there. That's fantastic. We love hearing that. So hopefully by the end of today that we can help you apply to McDonald's if you want to. So great growth opportunities. Love hearing that. Yeah, that's where we spent a lot of time last week as well, talking about the structure, talking about the vertical ability to go up the ladder, if you will. Like I said, anything's possible. You put in the hard work and the time. Your destination is in your own hands, really. One more comment here. They need to bring back the salads, LOL. You know what, Mark? There's a lot of sentiment out there about that right now. Please give it some time. During the pandemic right now, that's been really challenging. So I think in due time, they may come back. But right now, it's been kind of a challenge. You got to remember, of all of the distribution centers, our suppliers, to be able to provide all the ingredients that go into those salads to make it happen. So I just keep in mind, from kind of a bigger picture, that it might not be necessarily a decision that's too far down the road that we change that back. So with that, I think we had some great results, great feedback from everybody on Facebook and in the polling question. So Nikki, if you could go ahead onto the next slide, I'd appreciate it. Because on this slide, we're going to talk a little bit about that three-legged stool. I know we've dabbled in this for the past couple of weeks. Last week, we spent a lot of time talking about that franchisee, right? So that first leg of the stool, it's that the owner-operator that's vested in the community, they're vested in making McDonald's better, helping any crew members or managers that work at their restaurants. They want to help make them better as well. But it's really that owner-operator, right, that operates that local McDonald's. The franchisor, well, that's represented by Chris and I tonight. You're going to hear a little bit more about us and our story, but we're the ones that work for the company. As part of the company, I will tell you, our office is in Stamford, Connecticut. Even though we live out here in Buffalo and we represent Buffalo, we're pretty vast, pretty spread out. But if you think about McDonald's Corporation, there's, like I said last week, close to 14,000 restaurants in the US. Our headquarters is in Chicago. So there's quite a bit of spreading out, if you will, across the country of all the McDonald's employees. So what we do is we help to work with those franchisees, those owner operators in the local community to be the best that we can all be, right? To help be the best in operations and cleanliness and hospitality, to represent the community well, to do all of these things. But we wouldn't be able to get there or do any of it without our suppliers and our vendors. And that's that third leg of the stool. So going back to you, Mark, and on the last slide, I talked a little bit about those salads. The suppliers are the ones that provide us the food, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about them tonight. And what I'm really excited for is we have a few videos to show you. And I know you're thinking like, oh, man, these crappy videos. You're going to pull us on here and show us these videos. These, I got to tell you, it's Grant and Mahara from Mythbusters. So if you know the show Mythbusters, what they do is they go around and they try to prove whether things are right or wrong or anything about them. What they do with the Mythbusters is really try to prove we're right and wrong. So with Grant and Mahara, he goes into our facilities and he tries to prove whether or not our food is real. And I hear that all the time. Hey, your meat is made of kangaroo meat, it's made of horse meat, it's pink slime, it's this, it's that. Well, he proves whether it's right or wrong. So stick with us till the end, you'll see those videos. On the next slide, though, we talked about this a little bit last week, and we talked a little bit.
Real quick, before we go forward, we just had a question in the chat Nikki put in. I didn't know. I just wanted to defer to you if we want to wait to answer it now. It's how do you change the mindset for people who think McDonald's is just a stepping stone and not a long-time career when looking for jobs? I want to know if you want to handle that now or later.
You know what? I'll touch upon it now, and whoever wrote it in, if it's not sufficient, if you don't think that really answers your question, remind me at the end. Chris and I will try and expand upon it more, but I'll let you know kind of right up front what I think. So how do I change the mindset for people who think McDonald's is just a stepping stone and not a long-term career? I'll be transparent. I'll be honest. In my life, I thought McDonald's was going to be a stepping stone. I went to school at Buffalo State College. I went and just filled out an application, started working at McDonald's, started working on the grill. February 13th, 2004, I can remember right now. First day, and I just thought it was going to be stepping stone. Honestly, I thought it was going to be just extra money in my pocket so that this way I could have food while I was in college and pay for my books. That's what I thought this job was going to be. When you get into McDonald's, when you get into there, the atmosphere, the environment, it can be contagious. You can make a lot of friends. You can have a lot of fun. I know people, may look down or have this perception about McDonald's that it's something that it's not. And for me, I just had a great time. I really enjoyed my time. I made some great friends, lifelong friends. I got to learn. And really, it's what you want to get out of it. So for me, like I said, that was kind of a little bit about my background. So I guess I would just tell them my story. I would just say, if you want to make anything of it, you can. I don't know. Chris, do you want to touch upon that at all, or?
No, I'll touch on it too. And again, if it's not sufficient, please let us know. No, Ryan, thank you for sharing. My story from McDonald's is a little different. I saw an opening for this position, having graduated college. Never in my life did I think I'd work for McDonald's, never at all, and with my background, I wanted to do something operations focused, but, really looking at that job description and getting an understanding of, hey, you're going to work in a restaurant, you're going to solve problems. And let me back up. I had interest in working in restaurants before. I had just never been afforded the opportunity to do so. However, I am with McDonald's, and similar to Ryan, it's contagious. I really love it here. I love the people here. I spend hours and hours telling people that I know in my life about the great opportunities that McDonald's has and everything that's awesome. So I would echo Ryan and say it's about sharing your story, taking that jump. Again, if you want to look up more information about McDonald's after this seminar, you are more than welcome to fish. We encourage that, fish for yourself. But if you're on the fence, take a shot, take a leap of faith, and if spread the word. So that's what I'd say, Ryan. But I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Chris. And if that didn't answer it, please stick with us to the end. Like I said, we'll expand upon it more then. I want you to hear kind of more of our stories, more of our positions, what we do on a day-to-day basis. And then hopefully that'll help. If not, we'll talk about it at the end. I want to make sure that you don't leave here with your question not answered. So, but getting back to what's on the screen. So who has seen this movie? If you're on Zoom, you can do a voting poll. If you're on Facebook, just type in yes or no. Let us know, if you've seen this movie. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but it's about Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, and a little bit about his story and how he was able to take the McDonald's brothers hamburger stand out in California and turn it into this multi-faceted business and really work the franchisee angle that we talked a lot about last week. So give you guys a few moments. Let us know if if you have seen or haven't seen this movie. I'm seeing a couple no's coming in, rolling in. I don't know if you guys are movie people or not. I know Chris and I are movie people. We'll text like Friday night, like, hey, have you seen this movie? Have you not seen this movie? I think last Friday we were talking about Coming to America too. So
that's exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah. So I would say it's definitely worth a watch, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a homer and I work for McDonald's. It's definitely worth a watch. There we go. Mark chimed in. Great movie. Yeah. I think it's a really kind of educational movie of how McDonald's came up and how it became a brand, and how in the past really 55 years, 60 years, that has become one of the most prominent brands in the world. So it's a great story of business, but also a personal story for Ray Kroc, our founder. So if you haven't checked it out, great hour and a half to kind of spend and see a cool movie about the brand and about Ray Kroc, played by Michael Keaton. Okay, so yeah, Mark put in here, they kind of demonized Michael Keaton's character, but he was a good businessman. Yeah, Ray Kroc was a really brilliant businessman, and understood kind of what had to happen to make McDonald's as big as it is. But it kind of demonizes him a little bit. It's based upon a book, but if you read the book, it's really a little bit more slanted towards the positive, and the movie was kind of a bad spin-off, if you will. But I do want to spend a few moments talking about Ray Kroc, our founder's origins. So on the next slide, it says here in like 3 bullets, just high level, Ray Kroc sold several multi-mixers. So these are like the spinning machines that mixed up milkshakes back in like the 50s to a restaurant in San Bernardino, California. And that's where he ran into Dick and Mac McDonald. They were brothers. And you can see there's their hamburger stand that I was talking about. And he was really stunned by the effectiveness, about how efficient, about how fast they were of their operation. So if you can imagine back 60 years ago, or longer, 60, 70 years ago, how food was served was you pulled into a parking stall, you placed your order face to face. Like you just walk up to the stand, hey, I need this. And then you would sit and wait for a few minutes. Like you were at a restaurant, but you would be waiting outside or in your car or wherever. And then they would get your food to you as soon as possible. Or they would deliver it to your car if you sat in your car on a tray. here at McDonald's, it was boom, boom. It was really fast, really efficient. That's where the term fast food came about, right? Nothing like this had really ever happened before because it was so effective. Ray Kroc had this kind of vision that, hey, I could take this model that these McDonald's brothers created and spread it across America, right? Spread it across the world, really. So he founded the McDonald's Corporation in 1955 and really started in Chicago. And I think I mentioned earlier that's where our headquarters is. And in 3 years, McDonald's had sold its 100th hamburger, or 100 millionth hamburger. So you can see it had grown in popularity very, very quickly. And the McDonald's brand really, really spread. So it's quite the success story. He didn't, in the movie, it shows them kind of forcing the McDonald's brothers out of the situation, but really they had come up with a contract, and Ray had kind of taken the McDonald's brothers name, because my perception is that the McDonald's name has a better name than Kroc. That's just my perception, right? So McDonald's just has a good ring to it instead of Kroc's Burgers or whatever, So I think that's why he stuck with the McDonald's brothers names. That's kind of how the brand came about. On the next slide, you can see back in 1955, there was 2 stores, and the total sales was about 193,000 between those 2 stores. So back in the day, though, that was pretty good money. But you can see here, as of 2019, we have almost 39,000 McDonald's locations across the United States and abroad, and all across the world, and over $100 billion in sales. So really, the brand has still continued to grow exponentially, and really continue to blossom, if you will, or prosper. But I wanted to spend the majority of tonight, and Chris did too, talking about the franchisor. So out of the 3 parts, or the 3 legs of the stool, what is the franchisor, right? Franchisor is the ones that grant to the owner operators that they can run a restaurant, that they can run a McDonald's. So what's McDonald's role in that? Well, think about it. Take your own name, your first name or your last name or whatever, and try and open up a hamburger stand. Try and open up a fast food place. And just for me, for example, if I opened up Ryan's Burgers and I tried to sell the same exact menu as what McDonald's sells, do you think that I would sell as many burgers, as much food as McDonald's? Probably not. Even if I had the same product, McDonald's is known worldwide, right? So this franchisor grants these rights to the owner operators that, yes, you can use our golden arches. Yes, you can use our name. You have to stick within these guidelines. This is what we expect for you to do. We expect you to try and grow the business and do things this way and that way. And we kind of set parameters or guidelines for the owner operators, and they have to operate within those. But the owners can dictate a lot of different things on their own as well, like some local marketing, their involvement in the community, and a few other facets. So that's what it means to be a franchisor. Chris, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I would agree with everything you said. Well, one of the things is, similar to what Ryan said about taking your name, right? McDonald's is a reputable brand because of its credibility that we've established over the last 65, 70 years, right? We have that credibility that you can come to the restaurant, you can order a food item, and what you're going to get. You expect that level of same service, you expect that same product, and you can go and you can know that you'll get, let's say a Big Mac or a quarter pounder. And if you go down the street to the next McDonald's you see, you'll have that similar experience. And so really, establishing that brand trust, establishing that brand value is very important. And that's why, and that's as a franchisor, that's what holistically McDonald's has done. As Ryan said, we grant those rights to use that with our owner operators, and they work within the parameters and grow their business and are often very successful. in operating their businesses. But that's the power of the arches, as I like to say. That's what the power of the arches gives you. But back to you, Ryan.
You're right. That is the power of the arches. So as the franchisor, like I've spent a lot of time here talking about, we work in conjunctions with those owner operators, because if they succeed, then we succeed. So that's how all three legs of those stool kind of hold up the stool, if you will. So if those owners are succeeding, then we'll succeed. So we have their best interest in mind, and they have our best interest in mind. I would say the majority of the time. Sometimes we disagree, and that's okay to have a healthy disagreeing relationship from time to time. But that's kind of what it means to be the franchisor. On the next slide, what you'll see is our downtown Chicago headquarters. So this is where McDonald's headquarters is. You can see it right there. It's newly built as of a few years ago. But Ray Kroc actually had a built HU, or Hamburger University, and our McDonald's grounds a little further away originally. And we moved on from that facility a few years ago. But what's really cool about our headquarters is there's a museum inside. There's actually a functioning McDonald's restaurant inside, where you'll see a lot of test products that we'll test out before they go anywhere else in the country. So if you're ever in Chicago and you want to try something new that McDonald's might be having come up, it's a good place to go.
Can I jump into, Ryan, real quick too? Yeah, no, I was gonna say that at the office at that McDonald's, it's actually really special, where because it's our global headquarters, the McDonald's there once a month features items from other places around the world. So you could go in there and you can get McDonald's items that are being served. And I've been there, and I had a Brazilian ice cream cone from Brazil. I had I forget what it was called, but it was a hamburger in Germany. It's a really cool experience to just go and, if you're ever in Chicago, it's downtown, it's in the Loop. I recommend just going to that McDonald's and seeing if you can try something you've never had before. So, and they rotate them out. So you could go once and then you could go back and you'll get something different.
Mm-hmm. So some other really cool things about McDonald's is that you guys have maybe traveled before. And if you've traveled, you see a McDonald's menu, it often looks a lot the same, but sometimes there's some local flavors or some local things on our menu from place to place. So like if you go up to New England, sometimes they have a lobster roll, or in Baltimore, they used to have crab cakes. So there's some different things across the country that might be offered locally by McDonald's. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything here in Buffalo right now. We did just get rid of one of our recent favorites, the McRib, though, that we had for a little while. And we do have our Shamrock Shakes going on right now, which are a big hit in Buffalo. As far as getting back to the topic at hand, sorry, I'm on my soapbox here. But at McDonald's headquarters, it's like I think it's 6 or 7 floors. This is, like I said, where Chris said, it's our global headquarters. So we have all different departments here. I know we spent some time in the past 2 sessions talking about how there's different jobs at McDonald's that you normally don't think of. So I know everyone thinks of the restaurant, but this is just one example. You can see that this is the front of a building in downtown Chicago, where a couple hundred employees work for McDonald's that have nothing really to do with dropping fries and making French fries and making burgers. They're helping to plan out the next big sandwich or the next big thing that we're doing, or they're trying to look at all these different jobs, finances, technology, anything that you might be excited about. There's a job for you at McDonald's, and this is kind of the hub, if you will, of our being. And with talking about different jobs at McDonald's, I want to share with you guys a little bit about my role and what I do for McDonald's. So on the next slide, my title is a franchise business partner. So you can see in the bullet points here, one of the things that I'm responsible for is cultivating productive, influential working relationships that result in improved business results. What the heck does that mean, right? So what it means is I work with owners to really help them run better restaurants. So for instance, an owner might say, hey, I'm having a really hard time. My drive-through is not moving as fast as I want, because the faster a drive-through moves, the more people you can get through, the more money you can possibly make, right? So what I might do is I might come in and say, okay, here's where I think you have an opportunity. I think you may have an opportunity in this specific area to make the drive-through faster. So I kind of stick high level and do a lot of conversations with the owners on what I think they could do to improve their business. Sometimes this is technology related, sometimes it's marketing related, sometimes it's operational. So I'm kind of I have to be knowledgeable on a lot of little things, enough knowledge to what I say to be dangerous, to help out their business. The second bullet is protects the McDonald's brands by identifying and addressing issues that may pose risk to customers' experience, ensures brand perceptions are addressed appropriately. So if you think about, things that could potentially happen in a restaurant, we serve a lot of food every day to a lot of people and in every single restaurant. One of our primary duties is as a brand, and this is just part of my job, but we all play a role in it, is ensuring food safety. We want you as a consumer to come to our restaurants and feel safe eating our food. We don't want you to feel like you're going to be sick once you leave the restaurant because you ate something that's been sitting out at room temperature, or it's been mishandled or misused. So one of my jobs is to protect the brand by helping to really identify and addressing those food safety concerns. But it could also be concerns about a few other things, whether there's a safety issue. I'm just going to make up one, but we'll say, for instance, there was something wrong with a play place. Maybe there was, I don't know, something, a sharp piece of plastic, right? You wouldn't want your kids to go and play around that sharp piece of plastic. So it's my job to kind of help out with protecting the brand, making sure that everybody stays safe. But I work in conjunction yet again with a lot of the owners on helping them to identify and resolve those issues. And the last bullet point there, partners with the owners or the franchisees to detail organizational strengths and weaknesses and assist the franchisee in his or her development of business growth and plans objectives. So this is where I would say I probably spend a lot of my time, is really just helping to elevate the business, helping to make McDonald's be the best that it can be. So an owner might come to me and say, hey, I think I have an opportunity with this. How can you help me? Or maybe I look at a lot of data and analytics. I could say, hey, based off of the numbers that I'm seeing and my visits at your restaurants, I think there might be an opportunity here. And maybe they would agree, maybe they don't agree, but we would work collaboratively together to move forward to help make the brand better, to help make that restaurant run better. I'm sure we've all had an experience, whether it's at McDonald's or any other brand, the redhead or BK, the redhead girl or BK, or some of those other brands as well, where you've been in line and in a drive-through for a really long time. We don't want that. You don't want that as a consumer. So that's my job, right, is to try and help make all those issues better. And I work very closely with those owners to do that. So on a day-to-day basis, I have 99 restaurants and 14 owner-operators that I work with in Buffalo, Rochester, down into Corning, over to Ithaca. So I have a pretty wide territory. I have 6 restaurants down in Pennsylvania that I work with all of these franchisees to try and make the restaurants better. So on a day-to-day basis, yesterday I was out in Ithaca. Yesterday I was out in Syracuse. So I might drive a couple 100 miles in a day, go visit a couple restaurants, talk to some owners out there. Today I was at home all day, doing webcasts and doing different things, looking at some data and analytics. So my day-to-day sometimes is a little all over the board. It just depends on what kind of meetings and what kind of things that I have. But that's kind of where I go, what I do. But I'm not the only one here tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris to tell a little bit about what he does. So Chris?
Oh, thank you, Ryan. As always, appreciate it. It's going to be a tough act to follow, but I'll see what I can do. Thank you, Ryan, as always. So Ryan shared about his role. So earlier in the series, my technical role is an operations associate, but I wanted to change that title to something more that, for the audience that could really translate. Because if I say operations associate, it may be like, what's that? So as an operations associate, I'm essentially a restaurant business consultant. And that means that, what I do is one of the things I do is I protect the McDonald's brand by identifying issues that may pose risk to customer experience and brand perceptions. Similar to Ryan, in the exact experience that he mentioned, I am in the same boat, right? I'm here to help the brand, but I'm really here to help and support the owner operators and say, hey, as they go through issues that maybe could be brand damaging, I'm providing support and resources and et cetera to help us continue to keep the arches shining brightly. Okay. So so it's similar capacity there. Now, where it gets a little different is my day-to-day is I go around to restaurants almost exclusively, and I go through and I help observe strengths and opportunities in those restaurants and help those owners, similar to Ryan, improve operational performance as well, as I'm going and doing those visits. And part of that comes from me building a deep expertise in the specific restaurant department management system and providing expert coaching on root cause analysis to operators. So what does that mean, right? So if I go, to a McDonald's restaurant and I go to the drive-through, right? And it takes, it takes me a while to get through the drive-through, okay? I can't just say, hey, the reason the drive-through didn't go fast was it's always this reason, it's always that reason. It could be a number of different reasons. And my role would be to go and assess that, speak with the restaurant team, share my observations, and have conversations about what might have been that holdup, and then really work with them to recommend solutions on how that can improve. So similar to Ryan, I work with the owners in some capacity, but a lot of times I'm facing the restaurant teams and saying, hey, how are things going today? What can I do to help? How can I be a resource? Did you know this? Did you know that? Et cetera. And then at the same time, they teach me as well and talk with me about what's going on in their restaurants, what some great things are going on, and also what some opportunities are. So currently, I'm in the delivery subject matter expert role for my region. And similar to Ryan, I mainly operate in Buffalo, but I could go to Syracuse one day here. I could go down to the southern tier, go even into Pennsylvania on some days. So definitely some long drive times. But, I'll go and say, hey, let's talk about McDelivery, right? Delivery has been a huge part of everyone restaurant business at this time due to COVID. So how do I help maximize delivery? Where are the strengths at? And then where can I help and be support to improve those weaknesses? So that's it. So again, serving as a subject matter expert to provide support to the restaurants as requested by operators on specific operations initiatives. So sometimes I'll notice these opportunities, and then through Ryan's work and consulting and discussing, an owner may reach out and say, hey, I'd like to get a visit on delivery. I'd like to get a visit on shift management, to talk to my team about this. And then we work that out, and then I will go in and conduct said visit, speaking with the team and talking about training and whatever specified area the owner operator would like training on. So a lot of times, so sometimes I do presentations, I like this, but on a larger scale to restaurant teams, and just talk with them about, again, what are they seeing? What are they experiencing, and how can we work together to improve that operational experience and get over some of those barriers so that they can get to the next level? Because that's why we're always, earlier, right, growth opportunities, right? We're all trying to grow. We're all trying to get better. And I'm here to help that happen. I'm here to help assist in that process. And then the last, shadow the franchise business partner to assist in developing a full restaurant toolkit. So similar to the last one, Ryan, it works a lot with the owners. Okay, 14 owners. I as well interact with many of them. If I'll give a good example, right? If I, want to, I got a nail. Okay, you want to use a hammer to nail that in, right? Makes sense. Seems right. I wouldn't want to take a wrench and do that. Okay, so I shadow and work with Ryan so that we can provide the best support possible to the owner operators and what their needs are. So Ryan says, hey, Chris, right, you got a wrench in your hand. You need a hammer for this one. So then I'll say, okay, cool. And then we'll develop that toolkit, work together and assist. And I want to, before I continue on, I want to make sure that everyone heard a lot about what I said and what Ryan said. We're at part of that three-legged stool concept. We're partners in this with our owner operators and our suppliers. Really, we work together with our owner operators to make it happen. So Ryan and I work very, very diligently to provide the best support and resources that we can to our owner operators that we interact with and our restaurant teams to make sure that they're successful. So whatever support that we can provide them and whatever needs they have, they're welcome to they reach out to us. They ask us questions, and in turn, we ask them questions, and we want to continue to grow together. So I hope I did that justice, Ryan. I hope I did. I know everyone, Ryan's got a couple more years on me in the McDonald's system, as I said earlier. So I always want to make sure I got that seniority approval.
Yeah, so I would just say that just to give more of an example too, how we work together. So Chris and I work collaboratively with a lot of owners in the area. So I might meet with an owner and say, here's what I see in the data. Here's what I see based off of visiting your restaurant a couple times, where there might be an opportunity to build some sales, whether that's delivery or in the drive-through, or maybe it's at a specific day or day part. Now, hey, breakfast is, I think there's an opportunity here. So I'd call up Chris, or the owner would call up Chris and say, hey, can you come out and help us at breakfast time? So he would hone in really specifically at just those breakfast hours to try and help make them better, whatever that might be. So that's how we kind of work together and work collaboratively. And the three of us just kind of build a plan of action together to try and help the restaurant out of that part. So just wanted to kind of bring a real life example.
No, I appreciate that, Ryan. Thank you. As always, very appreciated. So that's what we do in a nutshell. I'll take a moment here to pause just real quick, briefly. Does anybody have any burning questions that they really want to ask? I know that we do have a Q&A at the end, but I want to make sure before we kind of switch gears here, we give the audience a chance to ask if there are any deep burning questions they want to ask. I'll give it a couple seconds. No questions from Facebook. Okay, we are good. All right. Look, well, I'll keep on moving. I know that was a lot that cover there. So as you all think of questions, please keep them in mind and feel free to ask Ryan and I at the end. So we'll go on to the next slide. After talking about what we do, we're going to talk a little bit more about McDonald's as a whole. Just switch back. So as Ryan mentioned earlier, we have our famous Hamburger University. Some of you may have heard of it. I talked to different people and they say, yeah, don't you all have that hamburger school, or isn't it there a hamburger college? And to their surprise, they always laugh when I say, yes, we do. I think that they think I was like, it was a joke, or they're trying to be funny or something, but no, we have a Hamburger University. So in 1961, Ray Kroc launched a training program, and he later called it Hamburger University. But it was started in the basement of a McDonald's in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, which is a base, around Chicago area. And so what he said was, hey, if we're going to franchise out our restaurants, again, providing that support, that training, that development, working in tandem, he provided franchisees the proper methods for running a successful McDonald's restaurant, right? So at Hamburger University, they did research on how a drive-through, the best format for a drive-through, how the best formats for kitchen layouts are at, what the best types of food should be, et cetera, all this experimentation. And they did it, they developed new cooking, freezing, storing, and serving methods for the McDonald's restaurant. So this is really like the R&D, you call it hamburger, not only were we training, but it's also the R&D for hamburgerology, if you will, humor me for a moment, on how McDonald's is run. So today, more than 275,000, franchisees, managers, and employees have graduated from the program. And so I want to take a moment here. We talked a little bit about growth opportunities at the restaurant, it's talking about growth opportunities at McDonald's. So if you would like to if you start out, let's say you start as a crew person, McDonald's Hamburger University has a class. It's called Leadership Transitions course. And so someone will come out and say, hey, we'll give you training and tools to be an effective shift manager. Then if you want to move up after that, again, a department manager, it's a class called Developing the Leader in Me course. And then again, developed by Hamburger University, is taught and trained, and that'll help prepare that for that next step as a department manager. And then finally, all right, we have our last course for our general managers. And that course is typically held in Chicago at our Chicago office. Due to COVID restrictions, it's now virtual, but that is developing the department managers for that next level of general manager. And so that's where a lot of, there's also several other courses there that you can take on accounting, finance, there's a couple other courses, and it's actually a college accredited university. So the classes that you take there, so all the classes I mentioned, you are eligible for college credits at other institutions. So that's something you don't hear every day, right? You can say, hey, I got a degree from Hamburger University, and that looks pretty good. I do say so myself. Very unique and does stand out, I'm sure, on a resume. So if you're considering it, I think that'd be a good add-on. Just my 2 cents, though. My 2 cents. If we want to go to the next slide, can we go to the next slide, please, Nikki? All right. So with that, we're talking about training. McDonald's has a spot for you. But Ryan alluded to this earlier. He talked about the different things that we have at our headquarters, right? We've got technology. Okay, that's true. So when you look at our restaurants, right, all the kiosks, all the card readers, all the point of order system, all the technology, we have headsets. So I'm sure all of you have seen in the cash booth, you have a person that has a headset. The order taking point outside, our digital menu boards, all of that is technology that is managed in-house by McDonald's. It's developed there. So if you have a passion for that stuff, you're like, I love technology. I love, we're getting my hands all in the technical systems and feeling stuff out and solving problems. McDonald's has a place for you. What about marketing? Okay, Ryan talked about, we have our national marketing campaigns, but a lot of there's a lot of local marketing that goes around, different strategies, right? If you love, hey, I want to, I think this would be a cool, creative way to market this, or I'd like to do that. McDonald's has a place for you. Our food science, we have our own test kitchen, second or third floor of McDonald's. I can't remember what floor. It's been a minute, but second or third floor. Thank you. See, look, Ryan's got me. I told y'all. If you haven't known by now, Ryan's always got my back. I appreciate it. Third floor, McDonald's corporate. We have our test kitchen, right? We have chefs in there, food scientists, all working to say, okay, how do we perfect cooking this new product with the kitchen designs that exist out in the McDonald's? So you have to understand that while you may say, hey, I have that great new product idea, I want to launch that, you also have to have a science to say, not only is it going to taste good, but can we cook it and store it and treat it effectively in our kitchens? And that's also where I go into the kind of next sign, that food safety piece, as Ryan talked about. So we've got microbiologists, we've got health officials that work at McDonald's to say, hey, if we get this piece of meat or we get this food, how do we effectively store it and ensure that when we're going to serve it to customers, it's safe? All right. And that's another big key thing there, right? We got to have that food safety piece because we don't want anyone getting sick. We want people to come to our restaurants, enjoy our food and love it. Coding, a lot of people coding. I know several people who code and do computer science, all of our back end software stuff. Got a place for you. Engineering, again, designing that technology piece. You got finance, you got accounting, construction. So, I'm sure many of you have seen McDonald's that look a little older and dated. And I'm sure some of you and many of you have also seen newer designs. All of that is construction by our McDonald's, with our McDonald's department internally. We have to approve the designs, the architecture, make sure we're in compliance with the city and municipalities, make sure it's a good location, which goes into real estate. We have our own real estate department. I recommend, that's one of the things we have a big real estate footprint, and we definitely like to look around and say, what's the best place for our restaurants? I recently read Ray Kroc's book, Grinding It Out, and it's a really great read. If you haven't, I recommend it. A great book on entrepreneurship. But Ray talked about how he would actually ride around in a helicopter and point out spots where he think that there would be a good McDonald's. So definitely an interesting way to do real estate, but that's how he did it, right? So it's very important that we have those prime locations so that we can be successful in the areas that we want to make our footprint. Human resources and training and development. Again, we're all about making sure that our people are properly prepared and trained to handle that next step. And if you like doing that, if you like training people, McDonald's has a place for you. What Ryan didn't say previously was Ryan actually has spent some time in McDonald's training department training people. So he has a knack for communication, this kind of stuff, right? We've got a place for you. If you love that, and that's like, hey, I love to train people, that's my calling, McDonald's has a place for you. And so before, I know there's a lot more stuff you can do at McDonald's, but I just want to take 2 seconds before I go to our suppliers and ask Ryan, is there anything real prime that I forgot or anything that you want to mention that we do at McDonald's that you're like, hey, they got to know this?
No, so I think there's a ton of positions. I mean, there's more than Chris and I probably even know, to be quite honest with you. As far as positions, I mean, there's data and analytics, there's farmers, there's you name it, McDonald's has got it. So like I said, whatever your passion is, look us up, let us know. Start, if you want to start working at a McDonald's, that's where I started. And I know I didn't really talk a lot about my story, but like I said, I started at a McDonald's as crew and worked my way up. And I joined the corporation back in 2014. So, Chris kind of alluded to it. I spent some time in training in our deployment department, which is another department where we help to deploy new food or initiatives to the field to make sure that they start off on the right foot. So, there's a ton of different positions. It's really up to you and what your passion is to get there. So that's what I would add, Chris.
No, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. So, Nikki, we will go to the next slide, please. Now, our partners and suppliers. So we've talked about the franchisor side. We want to talk a little bit more about a supplier. So if you, on this sheet here, you may see some names that you're familiar with, vendors and suppliers. So like Tyson, right? They supply our chicken to our restaurants. They're a major supplier. Many of you all know Panasonic. They provide technology in our restaurants. Some card readers and then screens as well. And then you got some other, you got some vendors on here, our delivery platform. So I'm sure some of you may drive or know someone who drives for Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, etc. Those are some that you may know. Now, there's some that you may not know are like McCain Foods, Cargill, Martin Brower. They supply a number of products for us, whether that's local store marketing materials. Ryan, I got to make sure I don't say my acronyms. I'm like LSM.
No, that's okay. Local store marketing materials, French fries, beef, chicken, you name it. Eggs, a lot of people I don't think realize that we have fresh cracked eggs for like all of our Egg McMuffins. We take the egg, crack it open, cook it on the grill. It doesn't come in like a pan and we just nuke it or something like that. All fresh cracked eggs, 100% real beef, which we'll hopefully show you a video about. There's a lot of stuff. I don't want to give it away. I'll turn it back over to you, Chris.
No, you're good, Ryan. Look, it's actually this great segue. But before I go, a lot of these suppliers work again. They're 3 legs of the stool. So without our suppliers, we can't be successful. So if we don't have fresh cracked eggs coming to our restaurants reliably, fast, and efficiently, we can't guarantee you all great and outstanding Egg McMuffins in the morning. We can't do it. We can't provide you chicken nuggets effectively and fast if we don't have that good provider of Tyson or McCain Food or other, many number of suppliers providing that for us. So these, we all work very together in this 3-legged stool, kind of giving that full picture to be successful as a great brand at McDonald's that we are. And, as we talked about this before, I remember some people were like, oh, people talk about the chicken nuggets are fake or pink slime. You got eyeballs in the meat, horse meat. I've heard it all, right? So next slide, please, Nikki. So we're going to take a moment and go through a series done by Granny Mahara. He was a former Mythbusters host, and he had this series, Our Food, Your Questions. So we've got some brief, 3 videos that we'd love for you all to watch, and we're going to have them play, and we're going to run in the entirety to provide some information about what's really in our food at McDonald's. Right? What's really going on behind the scenes? Okay. So love for you all. Thank you for take a watch, take a listen, and we'll circle back once they're all done. But Nikki, I will turn over to you to share, and we will watch these.
Are there lips and eyeballs in there, Jimmy? At what point in the process do we inject the pink slime? Hey, can I have this to go? I'm Granny Mahara. McDonald's knows you have a lot of questions about their food, so they've asked me to help you find the answers. I'm in Fresno, California, where I'm going to show you if McDonald's beef is real. Which way to the meet? All right, so we're here. Cargill's right behind me. I really don't know what to expect in there. Let's go find out. Hey, Raquel.
Hi, Grant. Great to see you again. Welcome to Cargill. We're really excited to tell you all about McDonald's beef today.
All right. I'm eager to see some meat. Never thought I'd say that.
This is the beef plant. Jimmy?
Hey,
Grant.
How's it going, Jimmy?
Good. Welcome to Friends of Grind. Pleasure to have you
I
here.
got a lot of questions for you.
Outstanding.
Are there lips and eyeballs in there, Jimmy?
No, it's 100% beef trimmings from the cow. When we go to the tour, you got to be pretty impressed by the quality of beef that we have.
All right, let's do it.
Right this way to our beef inspection area.
You know, when they say trimmings, I mean, these are huge chunks.
Some nice chunks. Yes,
This is some nice stuff right here, man. Hey, can I have this to go?
I wish we can do that, but unfortunately not.
So you don't use any of that stuff, what's it called, lean?
Lean, finely textured beef, or so-called pink slime. We don't use that in our burgers.
There's no giant machine that, and then puts it right in the mix.
Not at all.
So the next step is to start the grinding. Product is loaded into our grinder here, and then they hand it over to a formulator, and they want to check this product to ensure that everything is quality all the way through, right? So that ground beef is automatically fed into our patty formers and simply form our patty.
So you don't pour in any wood pulp or
No wood
other
pulp.
kinds of meat.
Beef in and beef out. Nothing else is added.
Real simple process.
And so where does it go after this?
We want to come around here, and well, now we get to look at our flat freezer.
Wow. And so they start out just off the line, and when they get to the top, they're completely frozen.
Exactly. And that is to ensure that we lock in the flavors. This is the patties coming out of the spiral freezer. From there, we simply put them in a box.
So how about we go taste some beef?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right. How's it going? Good. All right. So what do you do here?
Well, what we're doing here is we're replicating pretty much exactly what they do in the McDonald's restaurants, so we know what the consumer is going to be getting in the end product.
So your job is to eat hamburgers every day of the week?
Yeah, pretty exciting.
You're living the dream.
American dream, awesome.
And this is just going to go...
Yeah, pop right up. As
Hey.
you see here,
All right.
take them off the way we put them on.
It looks like a burger.
There you go. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's good. The only thing that we don't have here, though, is we don't have lettuce and tomatoes because we have to test the product exactly the way that we do it here. But if you want to try the real product, we can go to McDonald's.
Moment of truth.
Yes, sir.
So you know what? I've been through the whole process. I know exactly what goes into this all-beef patty.
Yep.
There's no fillers, no preservatives, no additives. It's all beef, and there's no pink slime.
Nope, none at all.
Here we go. You know what? It's been 15 years since I've had a Big Mac.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Nice.
McDonald's has a lot of other food out there. I know you got questions. So ask your questions, and I'll find out the answers.
Just real quick while they're getting the other one queued up, hopefully you really enjoyed that video. You can tell it's a little dated, pre-COVID, no masks, no gloves or anything like that. So, just keep that in mind. These are a little older, but hopefully you enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
We got another one coming up.
No, we got to keep them coming. As he said, our food, your questions. I'm sure there's some other items you all want to see, and we got them ready for you.
So we've been asking consumers for their questions about McDonald's food. Number one category by far, chicken McNuggets. Specifically, what's in the chicken McNugget? So I'm here at the Tyson plant in Tennessee on this gorgeous day to get you some answers. All right, time to suit up and boot up.
Here we are in Tyson Foods' Irvine County facility, which is one of 5 facilities in the United States that make chicken McNuggets for McDonald's.
Now, my initial reaction is that there's a lot of people here. Because, people think that you just come to this giant factory, you have a bin of chickens, you put it into a grinder, and you grind them up, and you pour that into a mold, and that's what's used to make a chicken McNugget.
That's not true.
All right, I'm going to show you a picture. Here, give me that picture. If you do a search on the internet for chicken McNuggets, this pops up. What is this?
I don't know where that picture came from, but that's not used in chicken McNuggets.
Now, they say that this is pink slime. So if you grind up the parts of the chicken that you use, does it look like this?
No, and we'll see that later in the process today.
All right. Amy, this blows my mind. I mean, there are multiple lines of people making cuts on the chicken, just like you would at home or just like a butcher would.
Absolutely. Right here is a whole cut up chicken. So you can see here we've got the dark meat with the drumsticks and the thighs, which does not go in chicken McNuggets. And then you've got the breast meat with the rib meat and the chicken tenderloins, which do go into chicken McNuggets. Now, before we make the McNuggets, we remove this skin.
Yeah.
And then we later add a small portion back for flavor in the chicken McNuggets.
For flavor.
For flavor.
Everybody likes a little bit of chicken skin.
Sure.
This is the only part of the chicken that goes into the chicken McNugget.
Absolutely.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
No beaks.
No beaks.
No feet.
No feet.
Okay, Amy, so what are we seeing here?
So this is our grinding operation. This is 100% white meat chicken. So the exact same cuts that you saw previously. And then this is the actual grinding plate that we use to grind the chicken.
This looks like a pretty coarse grind, much coarser than you'd find, say, in a supermarket.
Absolutely. We grind it to give you that really meaty texture that you expect in chicken McNuggets.
Okay.
So there's still a couple more steps to go through.
What is happening here? I can't stop watching it. It's like a lava lamp.
So this is the machine that combines all of the ingredients together. This is the same chicken you saw earlier, mixed with the chicken skin and the marination.
Are those ingredients secret?
No, they're not. So the full list is on the website, but some of the ingredients are water, sodium phosphates, and food starch, which give us that really juicy bite to the chicken McNugget.
Okay.
And then it's also salt to really increase the flavor of the product. And finally, rosemary extract, which is a natural antioxidant that protects the flavor of the product throughout its shelf life. So this is the final blended product.
Give me that picture. Let me see it. See this? This is what people think the final step looks like, but it's got a completely different texture.
Exactly.
That still looks like meat.
Absolutely.
So Amy, this is it. This is where the nuggets are formed.
Yes. Each nugget goes through a very thin layer of batter, followed by a thin layer of breader, and that breader contains some of the flavor components such as celery and white pepper.
Okay.
And that's
I can smell the white pepper.
Yeah,
actually.
absolutely. And then the final step is the tempura coating, or a thicker batter, which is really unique to the nugget. It's a blend of wheat flour, corn flour, starches, and leavening agents. And the leavening agents aerate the batter, and that's what makes the nuggets really unique.
Oh, man, Amy. First of all, it smells so good in here.
It does. So they've been through the fryer here at the plant. So as you can see, we only partially cook them here in the plant. And basically we do that to set the tempura batter.
Oh, so yeah, it's raw inside.
Absolutely.
So that's just to get this texture.
Yes.
And then they cook them when they get to the McDonald's.
Yes, they fully cook them in the McDonald's restaurant.
Yes.
They'll be flash frozen again to lock in the juiciness and the flavor. And then they'll be bagged and boxed and on their way to the restaurant. Would you like to try one? We can go see Gina in the kitchen.
Yeah, she's cooking them up right now.
Yeah.
Will you be mad if I tell you I haven't had a McNugget in a long, long time?
So, Gina, what do you do here?
So we are in our sensory kitchen where we evaluate nuggets every hour off the line.
So you eat chicken nuggets every hour?
Absolutely.
All right, so what's a perfect nugget?
So first we evaluate on appearance. So we want to make sure that it's a light golden brown.
Okay.
Make sure that it has ridges and peaks.
Yes.
And then you need to have a slightly firm texture, but is still juicy.
Yes.
And
okay.
then from a flavor perspective, we want to make sure that you pick up on a chicken flavor as well as some slight pepper and celery notes.
Should we try one?
Let's try one.
All right. I'm a barbecue man myself. What about you?
Sweet and sour.
Uh-huh. Oh, see, that's the experience that I remember. That reminds me of my childhood. Mm-hmm. So I've been in the facility. I've seen how they make the chicken McNuggets and exactly what goes into them. I know a lot of you are expecting pink slime or the whole chicken, beak and claws and everything. That's not the case. The reality is that they're made with white meat chicken. There's no mystery. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been there. It is what they say it is. Now, I know you've got a lot of questions. I've got a lot of questions too. So you keep asking and I'll find the answers.
Look, I love chicken nuggets, everyone. It's my favorite thing at McDonald's. So that video is definitely, it's more of my favorite. I'm actually hungry seeing those nuggets. I'm not gonna lie. I could go out and get some nuggets right now. But no, look, that was great. We got one more video for you all. And I know we could do this probably forever with every little product at McDonald's. But we wanted to make sure we got the big one. So thank you we'll watch this last one and then we'll reconvene.
We're at the end of the freezer tunnel.
Now, I know what you're thinking. These look like potatoes, but are they really potatoes?
Let's go check out the rest of the process.
All right. So this whole thing is the freezer tunnel.
Yes, it's about 50 yards in length.
So the fries go in unfrozen and they come out
Frozen.
What about me? What if I went in one side and came out the other?
It would turn you into a Grantsicle.
So what's before freezing? So these are actually cooked.
Yeah, they're partially fried, and then the final preparation is done at the restaurant.
Why do you partially fry them?
Well, we want to make sure we get that crisp outer shell.
Yes. I like that part.
Yeah.
So before they're partially fried, what happens?
This is the ingredient dip where we control the color, and we're adding dextrose, a natural sugar, to make sure that we get a consistent color no matter what time of the year it is. Also, sodium acid pyrophosphate.
What is that?
That's going to make sure that we control the graying after freezing.
So this is all about maintaining consistency all throughout this process.
Yes.
It's no wonder that the fries always taste the same. They always taste really good. Let's keep going back. All right, Coco, so here's a big one. Now, I've been asked by people to show them the machine where you take the mashed up potato goo and you inject it into these molds in order to make the perfect French fries.
We don't do that here. Behind us, you can see whole potatoes coming at us.
Yes? And then I see this thing that looks like a cannon.
It works similar to a cannon. We're lining up the potatoes in a tube with high pressure water and shooting them through a water knife here. It's precision cutting.
What? Check that out. That is crazy. How fast do they fire through here?
60 to 70 miles per hour.
So, Coco, where does the ammo for the potato gun come from?
Let's go find out.
So these are all the potatoes coming in. I mean, some of these are huge. That one's as big as my forearm. Are you using GMO potatoes?
No, we don't use GMO potatoes for McDonald's fries, but we do use different varieties. So we have russet Burbanks and Umatillas. Potatoes are just like people. They come in different shapes and sizes.
And they're all beautiful.
They're all beautiful.
So I've been all through this factory, and I've seen the potatoes come off the trucks. I got one final question. Where does this come from?
So all around us, under these vines, we'll find what makes mac fries.
All right.
Clear the vines away, start digging.
Am I doing good?
You're doing well. It's like an Easter egg hunt.
Oh, this is like the worst Easter egg ever. This is it, right?
See? A real potato. This is where it all begins.
So you wanted to know where McDonald's fries come from, or if they're even made out of potatoes. So I went to Simplot. I went backwards for the whole process, saw exactly how they're made, and traced it all the way back to here, to this potato. Pretty simple. I know.
So look, thank you all for watching. I'm hungry. I'm actually really very hungry. Ryan, are you hungry?
I'm hungry, but that's probably just because I haven't eaten dinner. But yeah, it possibly is probably from watching these videos as well. The other thing that I would encourage everybody to do, you could see as Nikki's controlling the slides here, she just went onto YouTube. So go on, type in our food, your questions. There's more videos that we didn't show you tonight, McRib, a bunch of other ones. Check them out.
Yeah, no, look, I echo that 100%. Check them out. And just before we go on, I just want to say, you know, about the fries. A lot of people rave about McDonald's fries. You know, when Ray Kroc first found McDonald's, that was actually one of the staples that he thought that the McDonald's brothers had done was with their fries and the way that they cooked them. So really working through that process to perfect the fries that we have today, it has been a journey, and it's something that everybody still loves from the day McDonald's started and up to now. So I definitely like them a lot. I don't know anybody who doesn't like them, and we'll leave it at that. So Nikki, can you take us to the next slide? We're going to take a moment and we're going to talk about, you know, how does McDonald's partner with communities? So we do all this, you know, we are an entity, you know, we do sell food. People said food. And I heard earlier in the chat, and I saw that someone mentioned charity. Well, I really appreciate that person for putting that in there, because Nikki, next slide. You know, I want to briefly talk about Ronald McDonald House Charities. So, you know, one of the things that, you know, McDonald's is a proud partner of is the Ronald McDonald House Charity. So, you know, RMC's programs help alleviate financial burdens for families with sick children. RMHC help families save over $930 million each year in lodging and meal costs alone. So one of the things, 90% of the top children's hospitals around the world are home to at least one RMHC core program. So, you know, Ronald McDonald House, it provides the housing and the meals and the food to families who, if they have sick children in hospitals, you know, Ronald McDonald House has been a beacon of a place to stay and a place for families to come and say, hey, you know, let's take that. We're working with your family member in the hospital, you're sick, your loved one, you're devoting a lot of time, effort, and energy to helping that loved one get better with medicine, all that stuff. RMHC's there to say, hey, let's take something off your plate. Let's give you a nice room to sleep in. Let's provide some meals for you that you can eat, because a lot of times people have been at the hospital all day long, and they're able to come back and just have that sense of that little one thing less to think about. And RMHC is an excellent job to do that. And so with, I believe, the next slide, I also want to talk about our very own Ronald McDonald House Charity in Buffalo. So I know Ryan and myself are very big supporters of the RMHC. We volunteer here, we provide support, and, you know, it's near ECMC. Ryan, what other hospitals is it near? Because I struggle. I'm honest. I'll struggle.
Any of those hospitals that are downtown. So it's right on West Ferry, right on West Ferry by Delaware. So if you haven't gone there, they're always looking for volunteers. Call ahead of time. You could always volunteer. I know Chris and I try to get down there and help out. It's just a fantastic way to give back to the community.
Yeah. No, thanks, Ryan. Yeah. So it's near, you know, Oshai Children's and Roswell and several other hospitals downtown. So, but it's 780 West Ferry Street. So take a look if you have some time. You know, love volunteering there. And since 1974, the network of Western New York local chapters have been making children happier and healthier by keeping families together and giving them a place to rest and heal. You know, the house is built on the simple idea that nothing else should matter when a family is focused on the health of their child, not where they can afford to stay, you know, where they'll get their next meal, or where they'll lay their head at night to rest. You know, RMHC believes that when a child is hospitalized, the love and support of the family is as powerful as the strongest medicine prescribed. And I can tell you 100% that they live by that, and they have continued to support throughout the pandemic several families in the area. So, you know, if you're looking for a place to volunteer, if you're looking for a place to donate some time and effort and energy, I'd highly recommend you consider the Buffalo Ronald McDonald House. So, you know, with that, we'll go to the next slide here, Nikki. So, you know, we talked about a lot today. We talked about, you know, McDonald's, you know, franchisor, supplier, food quality. So, you know, a lot of people earlier said that they love to work at McDonald's. I was happy to see that. Ryan and I are happy to see that always. So, as we talked about earlier, some career paths that you can take, anything that you want and think of, it's possible at McDonald's. Just we'll briefly talk about some skills that you can learn, right? So, again, we talked about accounting and finance, running a restaurant. That takes a lot of skill. You have to manage profit and loss statements. So how do you manage how much cash is coming in, how much cash is going out, right? How do you train and develop your crew members? That's some skills that you have. So, you got somebody who comes in new. How do you train them on the grill? How do you train them how to order take? How do you train them how to deal on the front counter? All those things effectively go into a perk at McDonald's, a skill. A big one, customer service. All right. How do you provide a hospitable experience that keeps customers coming back to your restaurant? So all those skills and more you can develop at McDonald's. And I think that the growth opportunities and the development at McDonald's are the most important skills that you can get. And it's something that I'm very proud to say that I've gained and continue to gain as being a part of this brand. So I love it very much. However, continuing on though, there's some additional benefits you can get for working at McDonald's, which I want to make sure we highlight before we close out the session. Next slide, please. So a couple other additional benefits. So there's this thing called Mcd Perks. If you work at McDonald's, you can get discounts on hundreds of products: Adidas, Samsung, Apple, grocery coupons at colleges, you name it. There's a chance you can find it. Movie tickets. I love, as Ryan and I said earlier, I love movies. So when theaters open back up and it's safe, I'm definitely going to be back going when I can. Great discounts, right? We have a great education program called Archways Opportunity. Where if you work at work at McDonald's, you can improve your English skills. There are ESL classes provided at no additional cost to the employees that work at McDonald's. You can earn a high school diploma through our education program. And this benefit's extended to the immediate family of eligible employees of participating restaurants. This is big. So not only you could go, if you want to say, I want to go work at McDonald's, and you say, I would like to earn my high school diploma through McDonald's. And well, now if you've got immediate family that like access, they have access to that benefit as well. You can work towards a college degree. We have there's a team of trained advisors there to help you plan whatever next steps you want to take in your educational development. And so, it's a great program that we have to really help, again, with those growth opportunities and take you to the next level. Before I go forward, Ryan, do you want to have anything you want to add?
No, I think that there's some benefits that we don't talk about, but I see them as benefits that often we don't talk about them that often. Flexible scheduling. I know that there's a lot of people right now, whether you're a parent or you're a kid in school or whatever, we work around your school hours. If you're a parent with a kid in school, maybe you can only work nights and weekends. We can work around that. So just having that flexible scheduling, crew uniforms, there's a lot of other benefits. Some owner operators, not all, they offer either free food or discounted food. So there's a lot of other benefits that we just don't have listed here that are part of the job as well. Oh, and career opportunities, right? So I know we talked a lot about that, but can't forget to plug it again.
No, you can't. Always plug it. Keep plugging it. That's what you got to do. Career and growth opportunities. So I know, before, we've done a great job talking about, I think we've done a great job, Ryan, but I guess the audience is the one that makes the final thumbs up, thumbs down decision, of course. So we've gone through a lot of information tonight again. And before we close it out, and this is the last session of the 3 parts, so we want to thank you if you've been with us this long. But what questions you got for Ryan and I after today? Throw them in the chat. Happy to sit here and answer them. Whether it's our role, McDonald's in general, if this is your first time here, you got a question, throw it in the chat. We're happy to answer.
Yep. And then whoever asked a question earlier, let me know if we didn't answer your question about changing the mindset. If we didn't, I'm sure I'm happy to expand upon it. So. Give you guys a few moments to type in the chat box.
All right, we got one. Was it hard to combat the false food information? Well, I will. I'll answer here. I wish it was a was. I'd say it still is difficult. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's hard to combat it, especially when sometimes people like they may not those videos that we just showed you. I don't know if many of you had seen them. I hadn't necessarily seen them before I came to McDonald's. So it's still it's ongoing battle, but we're doing the best that we can to continue to educate people and share the proper information. So definitely recommend looking up those videos. And if you got people that don't know or hey they say something different, feel free to share them. But Ryan, what are your thoughts?
No, I don't think it's terribly hard. I mean, I think hopefully you guys will spread the word too, and Chris and I do our part, and people can see that. But it is an ongoing thing. I don't know. I haven't heard much about it in the past. I would say a couple of years, as opposed to 5, 6, 7 years ago. Heard a lot about all this fake food. Then kangaroo meat was big for a while. I don't know why. But recently it hasn't been. Maybe it was because of some of these videos. So who knows? But it just being that educated piece. So
yeah. So we got another question. What advice would you give to parents that are concerned with their kids working in a local McDonald's?
I guess I would ask the question, if you don't mind me jumping in, Chris.
Oh, go jump in. You probably gonna ask the same thing.
Why would they be concerned?
Yep, I was just gonna ask the same thing.
I would ask that rhetorical question. Why would you be concerned about them working at a local McDonald's? McDonald's has so many rules and guidelines that we have to follow, whether they're New York State, whatever it might be. Not a good environment. Well, I'm assuming that you're talking about maybe
external.
I don't know, the other. What was that, Chris?
I said, are we gonna say, are we in an external environment? Is that what you're?
Yeah. Is it the neighborhood, the environment, the coworkers that you're worried about? Well, I mean, there's so many factors there. A lot of these owner operators, though, they have handbooks that employees are supposed to sign off on and agree to, that they won't, get into fights or start things. If so, they could be terminated. Rules and parameters are set in place. So if you're worried about like bullying or things like that, I would say I don't see that too often, or I haven't seen that in McDonald's in my career too often. I can't say it never happened. If anything, for me, I saw it the opposite way. I mean, I'll be quite honest. When I first started at McDonald's, I was a quiet guy. I mean, I was in the back, quiet, kept to myself, and now I'm helping to do this, right? I give presentations often. So I don't know, it helped me make friends, it helped me get out of my shell. So I guess if you have any more, follow up to that, then let me know. I would turn it over to you, Chris.
No, thank you. I'd love to hear some more follow up as well. Just don't, want to hear what you have to say so we properly answer it. But no, I think I spent some time in a restaurant, and I don't think there was any real, it was a great environment, not bullying and stuff. So it was, if that's a concern that you have, I can't say I've experienced that.
Yeah, and then I think they had a second part to that was is there anyone that they should reach out to specifically? If you're concerned as a parent, go with your child to the McDonald's that they're applying to, and introduce, have them introduce themselves to the manager. You could, the general managers are the ones that kind of are making the decisions in the restaurants, and just make that connection. Ask them about your concerns or address your concerns that way. But I think realistically, they should be able to handle your concerns, whatever you may have, and answer those. So I hope that helps. If it doesn't, let me know.
Could you work higher up in McDonald's without working in the restaurant? Ryan, you want to answer that one, or you want me to take it? I'm happy to answer it.
If you want to, go for it then.
Yeah. So, McDonald's is a food business, right? So everyone that I have met at McDonald's has spent some time in the restaurant, and it's actually it's a requirement that everyone, no matter what they, whether I'll speak for the corporation side, but, definitely in the restaurant, nobody is not allowed to have spent time in the restaurant. So I think recently, we've had some new people come into the organization from, bottom to C-suite level people, director level, and they have spent time in the restaurants. So, McDonald's is a food business. That's what we do. We're in the business of selling food, and that we take pride in that as a brand. So I would say you got to spend some time in the restaurant. It's good. It gets a holistic approach to the business. Again, if you want, I recommend really reading Grinding It Out by Ray Kroc, seriously, because it takes you kind of from start to finish, his vision and the culture that came and the values of McDonald's. And it really articulates that importance of, having that understanding of the restaurant, because even if you go into marketing, you go into technology, you go into food culinary, et cetera, food science, having an understanding about what goes on in the restaurants is extremely important in order for you to be successful. Ryan?
Real quickly, because I know we're running out of time, I would just add, you can get higher up without working in a McDonald's, but once you get hired, they're going to want you to have some operational knowledge. So they'll ask you to go work in the restaurant. So even though you may not have had that experience, they want you to get that experience. So they will ask you to, hey, yeah, you could be hired on, but we need you to go work in the restaurant and experience it to see what it's like. And they'll put a training plan together. So I hope that answers the question.
No, that does. And thank you, Ryan. We're having such a good time. I'm losing track of time. I just for the sake of time, because we want to be respectful, Ryan, I know you have some resources that for people who are interested that we brought to the table. We'll make sure to, we'll distribute those to Nikki and the team at Say Yes to allow that to distribute to anybody who's interested in those materials and would be interested to work. I think that's the best way to do it. You agree, Ryan?
Yeah. So if you're interested in a job, we'll ensure that you guys get the proper materials in order to apply at a nearby McDonald's. I would also say the easiest way is just look it up on Google, check it out. We're on Indeed most of the time. There's a ton of resources. So just search us out. We're there.
No, I love it. I love it. So Nikki, we'll actually go 2 slides over now to our game to have some fun, because the poll really isn't necessarily, the poll we had at the end was to gauge kind of where you were at the beginning and the end, but many of you all said you'd love to work at McDonald's. So I love that energy. So we'll go right to our game, our final game. So look, I will share my screen here. If you've been here before, you know how this works. If you do not, I'll explain it. Give me a moment here. Share my screen. Yes. All right, everyone, our final game. Listen, if you've been with us for the last 3 weeks, this is the last time. We're gonna have some fun. We gotta make sure we end on a good note, right? It's been a long day. So take your phone, you can scan the QR code, we want to play a game, and the winner of the game will receive a $15 gift card to McDonald's. So this is a competitive, you can win something, sign on. Let's put that knowledge to the test. Let's see how much you retain after this workshop with Ryan and myself. Got Jameer. Okay, we got Jameer back. Jameer won last week. Good to see you again. Let's see if we come back 2 times. We got Penguin. We got John. Who else? We got 4 people now. Let's go. Cynthia. I love it. We got people coming in. We'll put my timer on for 30 more seconds to sign in. We've got fabulous prizes. Who does not want after seeing all that food? I'd love a $15 McDonald's card right now for sure. Oh, we got Ellie. 6. I got 15 seconds on my clock. We got Ronald. Oh, Ronald McDonald in the house. Got 7. Let's do this. Oh, 8. I love it. I'm going to give y'all an extra 10 seconds because he will be popping up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are going. Create the game. The game is closed. So as you can see here, the way this works is there's a team. You got your team names. So you got your animals here, right? So the way this will work is we have 12 questions on the screen. And you got to race to answer them all the fastest. And if you get one wrong, you got to start over, right? So if you don't know, you'll learn real fast. If you've been here before, like Jameer knows how to play. So everybody watch out for Jameer, all right? And we are ready. Ryan, you ready? Let's do it. We got people going. Let's see. Bears 2, Lynx 2, Bears 3. Let's go. Ooh, Lynx taking the lead. Bears and Lynx, that neck and neck. I didn't go so hard this week, Ryan. I had to chill out, man. I was messing up last time. Lynx. Oh, Lynx. Come on, Bears and Frogs, neck and neck. Ooh, Bears. And we got a lot. This is some contenders here tonight. It's close. Okay. Ooh, who's gonna take it? Bears or ostriches? Ostriches. Penguin is the winner. Penguin, congratulations. You have won a $15 McDonald's gift card.
Penguins, please put your information in the chat or the comments on Facebook so that we can get you your gift card, please.
No, 100%. So I just want to close out. You know,
I'm on Teams. Wait, no, not Teams. I'm on Zoom.
Oh.
Yep, put it in the chat, please, and I'll get you your gift card. Thank you.
Okay.
Love it. Congratulations. And thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. So this has been a great session. I want to thank my co-host, my partner in crime, Ryan Richardson, for working with me to make this happen. He's been awesome. And I want to thank the team at Say Yes, Nikki, Jelena, everyone for helping this program come to life. So before I completely close it out, I want to give Ryan 2 seconds to share his sense, because I didn't know he was quiet before, so I would never think that. So I got to make sure he gets his 2 cents in. You're on mute. Double mute.
Make it quick since we're over on time, but thank you all for the participation. Thank you for the engagement. Thank you for having both Chris and I. Thank you for being open-minded. I hope you're honest, and I hope that we could help you. So, I know both Chris and I live in the community. I know we don't have our contact information out there, but if you want to put your contact information, you want to stay in touch with us, we'll be willing to help you out. Or I would be. I'm not going to volunteer, Chris, but I'll be willing to help you out. So let me know if you need anything as far as it's McDonald's related. Love to try and help you. Wish you guys the best. Thank you.
No, echo that. Thank you. Nikki, off to you.
Thank you both so much for a great series, and we hope to work with you again soon.